Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NCOPD Live, hosted by yours truly, Staff Sergeant Hicks. Hashtag the professional SGL coming at you live from Fort Lee, Virginia. Listen, we have the special guest. He's in the building, and I understand you have a special guest with us, right?
Hey, so this is my son, Justice. I got him to come on camera for like 1 second because, he trying to eat his dinner and then get on upstairs and play his video game.
Okay.
But I just wanted the world to see my son.
How you doing, Justice?
He said, how you doing?
I'm good.
So what did he cook you for dinner?
Made some chicken.
Now, be honest. How does it taste?
He said, how does that chicken taste?
It's good.
It's good.
Hey, he know his daddy can cook now. Come on now.
All right. Well, it's nice to meet you, Justice.
You too.
All right, thank you, man.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have the special guest. He is in the building. Command Sergeant Major Warren. Sergeant Major, how you doing?
I'm good, Sergeant Hicks. How's everything today?
Hey, I'm doing good as well. So tell myself and the followers, give us a little introduction. So who is Command Sergeant Major Warren?
Hey, so first and foremost, before I hit this introduction, I have got to say that my parents are live from Jacksonville Air Force Base in Arkansas. So they are joining your show tonight.
Okay.
So they tuning in to see what we're going to talk about. So I just want to tell my parents I love them and I thank them for being here. So with that said, that's kind of like Steve Harvey when he come out. With that out the way, let's get on with the show. Originally from North Carolina, the number one state in the whole United States of America. Everybody else is number two.
Yo.
And if they can't go with number two, I can't help it. They should have been in North Carolina like me. Been in the Army this month makes 19 and a half years that I've been in the Army. Came up a 92 Alpha. Been all over the world, multiple deployments, stationed in Japan, Germany, Fort Campbell recruiting, been all around. Was a first sergeant for a maintenance company, a signal company, a rigger company, and for DLA. And during that time, spent time with my kids, was able to get 3 degrees. So that's just a kind of little snapshot of who I am.
Okay. So I got a rebuttal with this number one state, right?
So there is only one number one state. And that is the great state of North Carolina.
And everybody knows, Sergeant Major. Now, see, I was trying to keep this because I am the professional SGL. But everybody knows the number one state in the United States is Texas.
What number did y'all file in order?
Listen, see, so let me just tell y'all right now. This is not about to be a normal. Look, you got Sergeant Cherry on here talking about North Carolina. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not about to be a normal NCOPD live. Everybody knows that Texas is the number one state. Now, I don't know about them Cowboys, but Texas is the number one state. So I'm gonna let you have it, Sergeant Major.
Hey, North Carolina is the number one, so you good.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna let it ride. Because you the guest. I gotta be nice to the guest. So you know what, Sergeant Major? With that being said, I got something called Quick and 60.
Oh now, Lord, here we go.
Now let me give my timer. Now only one person has gotten Quick and 60, and that was First Sergeant Sylvester Jenkins III. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and you have 60 seconds to get all of them right.
Ooh, you trying to hit me off with this and like at the end of a long day.
Hey, Sergeant Major, you from the great state of North Carolina? Y'all number one.
That's right. So let's get it.
Okay. Are you ready?
Not really, but we're gonna make it. Oh, so before we do this, you need to make sure you do the prerequisite that you told me you was gonna do when we was talking before the show.
Oh, so yeah. Listen, y'all. So these are not adult beverages. Ma and Dad, I know the family back home in Texas is watching. This is orange juice. Now that look like vodka.
Hey, I promise you 100%. This is nothing but straight Virginia water.
Okay, so if you see me sip from this is orange juice. So
Hey, look, I didn't want nobody to think I had anything above water going on.
listen, I don't need nobody thinking like the professional SGL on camera drinking. Nah, that's not what we doing. That's not what we doing. So let me explain the rules. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. You have 60 seconds to get all of them right. The clock starts after I ask the first question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite NFL team?
Cowboys.
NBA team?
Bulls.
Chicken, beef, or pork?
Chicken.
Favorite duty location?
Japan.
Favorite duty position?
First Sergeant Major.
Who is your mentor?
Sergeant Major Burton, Sergeant Major Wynn.
Your favorite Army value?
Integrity.
Why?
You can't be asking a two-parter.
Hey.
Because you got to have that to have all of them.
Okay. Favorite author?
Paul.
Okay. Cool. Hobby. Favorite hobby?
Writing.
Number one vacation spot?
Swiss Alps.
49 seconds.
Come on now.
So first of all, Sergeant Major, I'm the host. How you gonna tell me what I can't?
Hey, because you know you gave me the script and you didn't say follow-on questions to the question.
Hey, I told you, I said, hey, depending on how you answer some of the questions I asked, hey, there may be a follow-on question.
Okay, so we good now.
Yeah, see, look, everybody talking about the red cup, Sergeant Shin. You know, everybody checking in. I think you guys, Sergeant Hunter is talking to you. So we're gonna go ahead and get everything started. Listen, everybody, it is an absolute privilege to have Command Sergeant Major Warren on the show. Now, like I stated earlier, it's gonna be different.
Can I say one thing before you go with the further questions?
What's that?
So on behalf of my battalion, the officers, NCOs, drill sergeants, and cadre and instructors, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. So I just want to thank you on behalf of them because I know they're out there watching and representing our battalion tonight.
Okay, so what's the 262? What's the logo?
We're the lifeline to victory. So
Okay.
we train 92 Fox, Lima, Whiskies, Romeo, Sierras, and 27 Deltas. And
Okay.
I have a phenomenal team across the board in all three departments, and the drill sergeants are amazing.
Okay, so shout out to 262 Lifeline to Victory. Hashtag the professional SGL if you all are watching. So I have a series of questions here now. Because I know how Sergeant Major Warren is, I need to make sure I keep my composure because you'll say some things that'll bring some tears out of some people. So, and I know you're gonna keep it. I know you're gonna keep it real because you know on my platform I try to keep it as real as possible. I don't like being politically correct. I just like getting down to low dirty about what we are talking about. Sounds good?
It sounds good. And I think that most people who ever heard me speaking in any kind of form know I'm pretty open about myself and, you know, things that about how I view things as well. So.
Okay. Well, so with that, the first topic I want to talk about is you talked about positive failures. Now, as a leader, any leader, junior leader, senior leader, how can you look at a failure being something positive?
So the way I see it is any failure that you experience in life, it can be positive, but what determines it is your mindset and how you go into it and come out of it. My first positive failure, and you and everybody on here tonight is helping me celebrate 16 years of life right now. And I know I only look like I'm 26, but I really am celebrating 16 years of life because in 2004, this month, I went into the ICU and I found out I was a type 1 diabetic. And to me, that was like my first positive failure I experienced in the Army because it was like, man, my world is over. I'm stopping living. And when the docs sit there and tell you that your Army career is over, you left for nothing. So that was like a failure to me. I was like, so I was questioning myself. I was questioning my faith. I'm like, what is happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? But I went through my med board process. I got approved, but it took me years to accept the fact that I had to live the rest of my life with this, and I didn't want to live it. So I kept pushing it to the backside, and I never talked about it to anybody. I kept it like a hidden secret. The only person I would ever tell was my commander, because they had a right to know, because one, I would affect their readiness. So, I had to make sure that was the only person who ever knew what was really going on with me. And it wasn't until over 8 years later, when I was in Germany with then Captain Toby Holland, we were sitting down one day and he's like, first time, you know what? He said, you need to tell that story. He said, because if you don't, he said, you're not going to make it to where you need to be. So it took me over 8 years to feel comfortable enough to be able to tell that story. And now that I tell that story, and even when I was with you all at the academy and I would tell it, I would have NCOs and leaders come up to me and was like, Sarmez, I just recently got diagnosed. What do I do? Or another person was like, I've been living with this so many years. So I turned that into a positive failure, but it took me so long because I was so caught up in my own mindset, my own thoughts about what this was really doing to my life. And I believe that when you get caught up like that, and whatever failure you experience, you have the power to make it positive or negative. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they look at the mistakes they made. They look at the failures, the bad choices. We are people. We make mistakes. We make bad choices. We make bad decisions. And it's part of who we are as humans. But you have that choice whether you make it positive or negative. So I choose to make every failure that I go through a positive failure because it's a learning experience, because I believe it's a tool that's going to help me later on down the road. And it's about, somebody else that I can help, somebody else that I can influence to keep going and do something better with their life, no matter what circumstances surround them. And when you change your mindset, you take everything negative that's happened to you, and you take that and turn it positive. And because there's some people on here tonight, there's some people that's in our everyday lives that have a lot of bad stuff going on, that's had a lot of stuff bad stuff going on. But just change your mind and think about how you take that failure and turn it into a positive, because it's all about the outcome. It's not about what you're walking through, because sometimes we walk through the process, we walk through the fire, and we want to jump out of that fire because we don't understand it. But we don't understand that fire and that process is leading us to where we are supposed to be in life. Looking back, if I not ever went through what I went through, I promise you, I probably wouldn't be here today, because it made me live life a different way. It made me look at how, I work out, how I eat, how I take care of my body, the things that I do different. But you have to stay in that process. But, sometimes when we feel that pressure, we do not want to get out of that process. We don't want to get out of that fire. We're like, man, this is too hard. This is too rough. It is not. We can walk through anything, because when you get to the other side, that is when we become who we are and who we're supposed to be. And then you can always look back and you can think about who you can help. But it's a matter of what your mind is looking at it. I see a lot of people that's on here that I know personally, professionally. The people that call me on a weekly basis that goes through things. And this is the one thing I always talk about. No matter what you go through, you've got to change your mindset. This is like your TV. You're using the TV and you're watching it, and something comes on you don't want to watch. Change the channel. Mm-hmm. Same thing with your mind. Change what you're seeing in your mind. So if you're seeing everything as a negative, flip it to a positive and use it to help somebody else in life. Because it's always intended for somebody else, but you got to walk through it. Because if you don't, you ain't going to help nobody. Because what you go through helps build your credibility to help other people. If you came to me with a problem and I never had that problem, I don't have no credibility with you. But if you came to me and I can relate to that problem and I can help you through that problem and help you see a different side, then that builds my credibility with you as a person, as a leader, because of my experience and because of my fears that I went through. And I tell everybody I talk to, I never lead through my successes because my successes will not be yours. But I can lead through my failures and help you see something different in life. So that's how I think that everything can be a positive failure. Just like baseball. I get up 10 times the bat. I hit the ball 3 times. For my whole career, I'm going to the Hall of Fame. So that's a positive failure all day long.
So, Razor, I gotta ask you this question as a follow-on question. So, because I heard you say that you questioned your faith, and of course, by this being my professional page, I don't speak religion, but I'm gonna ask you this question.
Okay.
Did you ever feel like giving up? I mean, like just walking away, throwing the towel, or did it ever affect you to the point where you felt as if you didn't want to be here?
So it never affected me to where I didn't want to be there. But what one of the things that I dealt with is with going through that process, they tell you, hey, you're gonna experience this, you gotta change this. But the one thing they never told you about, and the one thing that I always talk to people about is the emotional strain it takes on you. So while you're dealing with everything that you're going through, while you're working through your processes and you're trying to change your lifestyle, it is an emotional battle because you have to face that. And there's days you don't feel good, but you still got to get up and keep pressing on. There's days I led 4 different organizations as a first sergeant, and there was days I did not feel good, but I was still up there. And it took the emotional side of it was the one that bothered me the most. But that's when, after I finally got over asking, question my faith, I said, you know what? Let's just go do this. Let's go get it. And I would never let nothing stop me. So that's why, people see me out there still getting after it, still pushing hard, because I know if I can make it through and still do the things I do, anybody can. Because all it does is it's about that mindset and never be willing to give up, because I never was. I cried some nights. I had some emotional nights. I didn't understand a lot of stuff because I'm like, hey, I was raised this way. I was taught this way. I believe this way. I did this. What else do you want from me? But now I know. And so, knowing is, they always say knowing is half the battle. Mm-hmm. So now I know. Wow. I never felt like giving up. I felt like this keep going on, but I had to find that will to keep going on and not letting that overcome me.
That's what I was going to ask you. That will, that resiliency to keep on pushing. Where did it come from? Did it come from, mom and dad, loved ones?
So I'm gonna relate that out. It came from my parents, mm-hmm. And that started as early as a child. Mm-hmm. Because, I make no joke about it, we grew up poor, but I never seen my parents stop. Mm-hmm. And then my dad, he put in that work ethic in me to never stop. Because, I seen my dad work when he was sick at times, mm-hmm. but he always worked. He never quit. And he always tell me, hard work builds character. Y'all was at my ceremony, so I think, y'all heard my story. Yeah. And he'll probably chime in here in a minute. But that joker put me outside to chopping wood one day for about 8 hours. And he said, don't come in and until I come get you. So he taught me how to be resilient. Even before MRT and everything else came out, he was teaching me resiliency as a child. And now you look back, now you know it. So he would never let me quit. So that's why I went quit.
Okay. Wow. That was definitely a huge factor in your military career. That some people, I think that a lot of times people don't realize how strong we are internally in the military. So I was watching my uncle last night. So my uncle and my biological father are pastors. And on Tuesdays, my uncle does his Bible study. And on Wednesdays, my dad does his Bible study since the whole COVID-19. So I was listening to my uncle, and he was saying something about shifting, about the inner person. And he gave this illustration about how the military, when they transform a civilian to being a soldier, they put them through controlled measures to try to push them, to let them know that when they're faced with this, that they can go through this. But something like this, there's no way to practice it.
There's not, and you know, I always keep certain stories with me in life, and so I was at Fort Campbell, and I just can't. I even deployed, you know, being a diabetic. Went deployed, came back. Doctors, you know, they was doing my checkup, my physical, and the doc looked at me. He said, "Son, Warren, how does it feel knowing that you live with something that one day is going to kill you?" I said, "Well, doc," I said, "I think I'm pretty good with it, but how does it live? How does it feel living every day to wake up that you ugly and you can't do nothing about it?" So, you know, sometimes you got to turn things in life into a joke and find the humor in it, and always know there's an intended purpose behind everything that you walk through.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have told my doctor that. He probably would have prescribed me something that I really do.
Hey, he wasn't a good doc anyway, so you can't tell somebody living with something crazy like that, cause I think y'all know me well enough to know I'm gonna say something crazy back.
Listen, man, I already told y'all. Listen, so being with Sergeant Warren, this is not going to be your normal NCOPD line. But okay, we go move on to our major. Impact versus intent.
Woo.
Which one is more important and why?
Man, that's like, you know, them words we like to throw around. So first, you know, we have to understand the meaning of each word before you can say which is more important. The intent, that is the purpose for what you want or want it to happen. So, you know, as leaders, as non-commissioned officers, as officers, no matter at what echelon, we are here to make sure that our commander's intents get executed and that they're being met. They give us the intent and we drive out and make it happen, make sure that it is understood to the lowest level.
Okay.
So intent is definitely the purpose of what is supposed to happen. The impact, that is your actions from your day to day. To me, our impact outlives your intent long after you're gone from anywhere. And this is me, Michael Warren, serving as a CSM right now. I believe that what you do in your impact can have generational consequences or repercussions. So we have a choice of what our impact looks like. It's either good or bad. You know, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. You know, if I made a decision that impacted the whole battalion, good or bad, it just did not impact the officers, NCOs, and soldiers that had a battalion. It impacted everybody's family, their spouses, their kids. It'd be like me saying, all right, this Friday night, we're going to have a formation at 2100. So how many people did that really impact? I mean, you think about the formations that you lead and the decisions that you make. So your impact is always the start of where your leadership legacy is at, because that is what people are never going to remember your intent. They're going to remember your impact on what you did for them. So if I had a negative impact on Sergeant Hicks and you had a 18-year-old getting ready to join the Army, you'd be like, nah, I don't want you to join the Army because this guy right here. Because people quit people before they quit organizations.
Say that again.
People quit people before they quit organizations.
Wow. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because when you look at us as a whole, as the Army is great. But if we're not out there and we're not practicing, you know, taking care of people, and it's not about babying, it's not about coddling, it's about really taking care of people, really showing care and concern for people. And that's where your impact comes in. Sometimes it's about, you know, walking by and talking to people and just having a simple conversation. It's about, you know, that you hear it a lot of times in other people's when they talk, but it's about talking to somebody who can do nothing for you in life. And what impact did you make in their life? Did you just walk on by them because they was doing nothing but picking up trash? Or did you stop and say, hey, how you doing? You have to realize what you do for people and just a simple word. And that's it. Just walking by, you know, how was your day? What's going on? How you doing? That's an impact for some people because you never know what they're going through. You know, the one person I would not say this person's name because there may be somebody on here that knows him. But it's my first squad leader in the Army. Impacted my life. I was a PFC, leaving AIT, going to Fort Campbell. Got in process. He set me down, give me that little fake initial counseling that we always like to do. It's just made up. He said, flip it over, write your short-term, long-term goals. So my number one short-term goal was to be a non-commissioned officer. That's all I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be a non-commissioned officer. So he said, Warren, you can't do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I know I can. I just sat down, my AIT instructor is still in the Army, so I won't say their name either. But they walked the plan with me and showed me how I could be a non-commissioned officer in 3 years and told me what I need to do. So I already had the plan. I had the game plan. But this sergeant kept telling me I couldn't do it. So I finally said, please tell me why I cannot be a non-commissioned officer in a 3-year time period. Mm-hmm. He said, because it took me 8 years. I said, oh, man. I said, really? So, just a little under 3 years later, we were standing peer to peer. Mm-hmm. So that was very impactful for me because I was like, man, if this is the kind of NCOs that I'm gonna be around, I've got to change who I am. I got to be something different. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't like being told that I could not do something. Because to me, if you're my squad leader and I come to you and you ask me what my goals are, and I tell you, hey, this is my goal. Your job as my squad leader is to make sure you take care of me and teach me and train me and coach me to get to that goal. Mm-hmm. Because to me, if you fail to do that, then you probably didn't do your job as a non-commissioned officer.
So when we talk impact versus intent, and I like what Sergeant Major Love just said. Some people, like you said earlier, if you had a negative impact on me and I had a son or a daughter that wanted to go in the military, hey, nah, this ain't what you want. Don't do that. No. And a lot of people hear me say most of the time, the reason why I am and the reason why I do what I do is because if one of my kids decide to join the Army, mm-hmm. just out of the blue, they decide to join the Army, or I persuade them to join the Army. Either way, but if they decide to join the Army and they get a drill sergeant or squad leader or platoon sergeant that notices that last name Hicks and say, hey, who's your dad? And they say, oh, my dad's Dexter Hicks. Say, you know what? Your dad was a good dad. I'm gonna take care because your dad had an impact on me. Yeah. Versus if I was some NCO that always talked negative or whatever, and my kids joined the military and I was harsh on somebody for no reason. Now they got my child. They're like, you know what? I never got a chance to repay your daddy back, but guess what? I'm gonna repay you back. So is it true that the impact, like you said today, that the impact that we build today, the legacy that we build today, it could be a positive or a negative aspect in generations to come? Somebody's watching.
It could. So they watch and they see what you do. So if you're not treating people the right way and taking care of people and investing into them and trying to make an impact in their life, you retire in a few years, you're like, you know what? Go to the Air Force, go to the Navy, go to the Marines, go to the Coast Guard, or just don't go to the military at all. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of us on here tonight that chose the military as a profession. And that's what it is. And I think that it's up to us to sell the story of whatever branch that we serve in. But it's hard to do that if somebody had a negative impact on you. So you think about a Marine. Mm-hmm. A Marine can get kicked out of the Marines. But when they get kicked out, they will always tell people they will always be a Marine. If a soldier gets kicked out of the Army, they will talk bad about the Army. I was a recruiter, so I know. And I'm speaking that from experience. So that's not hearsay. That's, my living it for them years out there on recruiting duty. And I've seen it all the time. So it's all about that impact that you're going to make. And there's people that's made tremendous impacts on my life and made sure I got here. One thing that I talk about when I talk to young leaders and we talk impact, is how many people are still out there cussing people out.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few honest people, they tell me they still cuss people out on a daily basis. So I'm like, now you never heard me say a cuss word in the organization.
Never.
So you know how I am. But nobody will ever take me up on that offer. So if your kids and your spouse are good enough not to talk down to, why ain't somebody else's spouse and kids good enough to talk down to?
Talk.
If you was in the classroom, if your kids was in the classroom and the teacher was treating your kid bad, but when you try to go to the school and have a conversation with that teacher,
you can't ask me no question.
No, so don't answer that question. Don't answer that question.
Because when it comes to my kids, listen, hey,
Hey,
anybody that knows me, when it comes to my grandparents and my kids, all bets are off. All bets are off. So I think that answered your question.
I think what we do when it comes to our impact, you can't just be, I just want to be in this position. I want to be whatever. You really got to care about what you do, and it's not always about how people view you, but it's about what you do to make them better. Okay. There's a lot of your counterparts that they was irritated with me because I threw so much stuff on them. I threw so much work on them. I made them work, but the impact, of what they learned. I'm trying to get my son to give me some more water. He just run up the stairs because he didn't want. But you just gotta be willing to make people better.
Okay, I like that. So this kind of leads into the segue of our next topic that I want to talk to you about. Not just leadership, but engaged leadership. Why, or in your own professional opinion, why do you feel like it is important for a leader to be not only just present, but be engaged, whether day-to-day operations or counseling? Because let's be honest, our major, counseling really doesn't get done. And I know that's a topic for another day, and I got a special guest that's going to come on and talk about it. But let's be honest, counseling doesn't get done. So why is it important for leaders to be engaged, not just present?
So, you have to be engaged because engagement lets you know, man, look, that's my friend, Montreal Key. I just seen his name pop up, so I apologize. Me and him went to BNOC together. So, yeah, I'm dating myself. We was in BNOC.
Okay.
You have to be engaged because that keeps you in the know of what's going on. You have to not just show up because, if you show up and you're not engaged, what are you really doing when you show up? Are you showing up just because you can show up and just walk around and see what's going on? Are you really being engaged with what the organization has going on? Mm-hmm. So you have to be engaged. You have to know your organizations. You have to know your people. It took me a while to learn everybody's name in my organization. I'm not gonna lie because there's a lot. But I'm engaged. I know what they got going on. So you have to get out there and learn those names, and see what's going on. But then you also you brought up counseling. You have to be engaged with those programs, and counseling is a program. It is part of the Army programs that we never talk about at the unit level, and you have to force those things. So being present is great. One thing I tell people is, all I do is just show up and go to work. And then, there's some people out there that got some follow-on things of what I do when I just say I just show up and go to work. But you have to be willing. Showing up is just half the battle. Mm-hmm. Just because you show up don't mean that you're going to work. You got to put that work in. So, when I was a little boy down on the farm, my granddad said, and my daddy used to tell me, boy, put your hands to the plow. And that just means putting in that work. And that's part of that engaged leadership. No matter what echelon you ever get to, you have to be engaged with what's going on around you, because this showing up is not going to get the job done. You have to be engaged with, the operations, the people, one thing we talk readiness all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing, we fail to talk about sometimes is that morale readiness. So you got to be engaged with that morale readiness as well. You can't just be there to hang out. You can't just be there to, be cool with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know I love to talk junk all day long, but I'm going to engage with everything that's going on in the process. Cause, for me, I use a lot of jokes. I use a lot of humor. I talk a lot of junk, but I'm engaged and I know everything that's going on. I'll use my S1, for example, and how you need to be engaged. He will ask me, he's like, Sergeant Major, how do you know who's not on this purse stats before I send them? I said, because it's my job to know. I don't need a company to tell me who's on my purse stats. If I see somebody's name not on there, I know, because you have to be engaged and know everything that's going on around you with your people. And that also goes back to that impact. Because if I'm engaged with you and I know what's going on with you, and you and I have had some closed door conversations.
Yes, we have.
And let's just be honest, we've had some closed doors. So if I had never been engaged enough to have those conversations, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
No, especially the one where something was going on with my grandfather back home, and it got me a little emotional. Had you never made some type of impact on me? No. Which leads me to this question, Sergeant Major. Okay, so let's just keep it real. What I want to ask, why is it so hard? But I want to focus on, instead of just thinking about the negative. And this is anybody on the follow.
But so think about how you are trained. You say focus on the negative, so it goes back. You got to train your thought, because as NCOs, when we walk up on the formation, what's the first thing we always look at?
Uniform.
And does everybody look the part? Is what's wrong? Do we ever think about what's right?
Wow.
Do we? I mean, really? Do we ever think about what's right?
No, I mean, if we keeping it 100, no, we don't. We look, all right. Let me see what's wrong with this soldier's uniform, or what's wrong with this soldier's hair. And I guess I don't know. Maybe is it wrong because we've been trained that way to?
No, because we've been trained to fix problems, and correct deficiencies. But do you ever just walk up on something and say, "Hey, what did I see right?" When you think about everybody as an instructor that you did a Class A inspection on, or ASU inspection, what did you see that was right? Or how many did you look straight for the deficiency? We're supposed to fix deficiencies and correct things detrimental to the readiness thereof. And most people don't know where that saying comes from. Mm-hmm. But you gotta fix that. But you also gotta look at what's right.
So if you could look into the camera now, and this is what I want to ask you. If you could, because it's a question that needs to be asked, and anybody can share your thoughts on here, and put some knowledge out there too, because this is just Michael S. Warren's professional opinion. If you could look into young leaders right now and tell them how to buy into being engaged, other than just showing up, what would you tell them? Because let's be honest, Sergeant Major, most people are just showing up to work. We don't do counseling no more. We don't check on soldiers. We never do, right? I think one time you can't talk to the 8th of November. I can't even remember if I've ever been written a positive counseling when I was a junior soldier. It was always a monthly counseling, or every now and then if I had to get real back in, I got a negative counseling. But how do we buy into being engaged as leaders?
It's about what are we really teaching? So in my mind, and things that I've always thought about growing up, Sergeant Major Halliburton, I knew you would get it. Mm-hmm. I call it R&R.
Okay.
Do you believe more in the rank, or do you believe more in the responsibility behind the rank? So I think that, and this is me. People always ask me what would I change in the Army. I think the Army is great. But I think inside our NCO Corps, I would, as command sergeant majors, we get an appointment certificate appointing us to the command sergeant major. And this is what one thing I deal with you all is every time you got promoted to whatever rank and still to the ranks now, I still make people recite the NCO charge because I don't want you to believe in just the rank. I want you to believe in the responsibility behind the rank. So you have to create a buy-in, but it has to be about the responsibility. And when you start teaching responsibilities that come with each level, then I think that you create a atmosphere of people buying into, all right, people, I talked to many classes down there at the academy. And the one thing I would tell people, and they would get mad at me because I would tell them, you are a great 92, you are a great 91, you are a great 88, whatever letter you put behind it. But as a non-commissioned officer, that is where you're not fully meeting the mark because you don't fully understand your responsibilities. And I think it's up to us to really teach responsibilities at each level. And I think when we do that, that's when we start changing the shape of our non-commissioned officer corps.
Wow. I will say this. It was an NCO, and I've told this story on NCOPD Live many times. He's now a CW2. And actually, I just spoke to him last night. He hit me up and was telling me about the page and everything, and we talked. And this was my first NCO in the Army. I was a young PFC getting ready to be a specialist. We was at 589 BSB. I'll say his name because he knows I'm like, it's CW2 Perez, Robert One type. We both were from Houston, so that was a plus. He was a Texas fan. He wasn't no Cowboys fan. But are you a Texans fan? On here.
Are you a Texans fan?
I sure am. And don't say nothing to me about DeAndre Hopkins. I don't want to. I
thought the last time y'all had a team, they moved them to Tennessee. And I'm sorry. That's still so subject for y'all.
This is why. So meanwhile, back on the ring, Sergeant Perez was my first ever NCO. I'm talking about that was directly in charge of me. First ever. So I didn't have no ambitions to be a NCO. I didn't. I was like, man, I was just doing something at the time. And just let me keep it real with y'all, everybody. So this is something that y'all don't know about Sergeant Hicks. So I had left home, was in my 20s, ended up moving back home, left home again, ended up moving back home to the point that when I told my parents I was going active duty, they didn't even believe me. They were like, this boy ain't going nowhere. My family, my aunties that's watching, they didn't believe. My Aunt Jackie, my cousin Tamika, Rashawn and them, none of them believed I was going active duty. My grandparents, everything. Of course, y'all know when I say my parents, I'm talking about my grandparents. No disrespect to my biological dad or my stepmom. Love them to death. My parents didn't even believe I was going to the active duty to the Army because I wasn't even going to drill. I wasn't even going reserves. I was like, man, I ain't going no reserve.
Oh, you was trying to get free pay.
I was collecting a check. Listen, I'm telling y'all, I was collecting a check. I was like, man, you talking about buying in? Oh, I can talk about it now because I've seen the light. We talking about buying in. What is that? Like, so you better go on with that. So I ended up going active duty, and I told myself, I said, when I left the house this time, I was not coming back. So the only reason why I joined the Army was to do 4 to 8 years, establish myself, and get out. And I will share this story to anybody. The person that changed my life, besides my faith, was Chief Perez. This was the first ever NCO I've ever had. And when I tell you he made such an impact on me, I was like, I want to be an NCO. Because he was engaged. He counseled me. He took the time to sit down and teach me how to do. I remember one time he walked up to me, and I say this all the time. He walked up to me. We was in the motor pool, but I had done perfected PMCS in the vehicle. I didn't need the -10. But when you talk about doing it right, what's the number one thing you're supposed to have with you?
The dash 10. You can't do a PMCS without a dash 10.
It's no PMCS without a dash 10. So I was, he walked up to me, he said, hey, he said, what are you doing? I said, son, I'm PMCSing, because I was the SPO driver for the SPO. I said, I'm PMCSing the major's vehicle. He was like, no, you're not. I'm like, sorry, yes, I am. Like, and I thought
you was just walking around the vehicle.
Yeah, but I had it so fluently. I was doing it step by step. And he was like, well, tell me what you did. Well, the first thing you do is you walk around the vehicle and inspect it. And then you do this, you do that. And I began to will it off to him. And he was like, you're still not PMCS in the vehicle. But he kept driving on me. And every time he did something, he told me the reason or the importance behind it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is this what being an NCO is about? And so that drove me to buy in and be an engaged leader.
So think about what you just said about, he always told you the reason behind it. And I think it's okay if we tell people the why, if we tell people why they're doing something. And it's not about, because I said so, because I want this to happen. There's sometimes you got to be direct and say, hey, just go make this happen. Mm-hmm. But I think once you start telling people why you're doing stuff, then, they will be quick to jump on the team. And just like you start believing, you're like, you know what? I think I can get on board with this. Mm-hmm. And when people start understanding that why, some people don't want to be questioned. Look, I got a teenager. That joke would question me every day. So if I go to work and can't be questioned, then I don't need to be questioned when I come home.
So listen, I think I've asked this on the forum before, but I'm gonna ask you this. And then I'll respond to the same question. Respond to it. Is it okay for a soldier to ask a leader why?
Leaders will get offended. Some leaders will get offended because they feel like you're being questioned about your authority of going through that. But if you explain everything up front, now if we downtown deployment and we getting in a firefight, I ain't got time to tell you why. I need you to fire and I need you to lay these rounds down in this area to keep us alive. But I think if you go up front, if you tell them the why, you don't have to worry about being questioned. Because I would tell you, as PSC Warren, as Specialist Warren, I used to question the heck out of my platoon sergeant. Because all he did every day was send me down to the motor pool and empty the Connex out and put everything back in the Connex. Empty the Connex out, put everything back in the Connex. So I found like one day, he retired now, so I'll say his name. I was like, Sergeant Rising. I said, why am I down here every day in this Connex? He's like, because that's what I want y'all to do. I was like, okay. And I just drove on. It didn't make no sense to me until we started deploying like back to back to back to back. Mm. But he never told us the why. But I did ask the why. But I learned and I learned from my soldiers. Sometimes if you just go ahead and up front, what harm is it going to do if you just tell them why?
So I would say this just in my mind. I believe that if a leader is engaged and their impact is positive, there will be less whys being asked by soldiers. Now that there are those questions that they're going to ask why, mm-hmm. But for majority of it, if they know who you are as a leader and you've impacted them in a positive way, most people say nowadays, if you treat soldiers right, they'll do anything for you. I'm a living witness for that. When I was PFC Specialist Hicks, because Sergeant Perez took me right, there was nothing that he couldn't do that was out of the scopes of illegal, unethical, or immoral, that if he asked me to do something, I would do it. Mm-hmm. Because he showed that sense of, I'm gonna take care of you. And one of the things that he told me in the beginning, he said, listen, we can have fun, but understand this line right here, don't ever cross this line. And as long as you don't ever cross this line, hey, guess what? We gonna be all right. And he drew that line in the beginning. Nowadays, let's be honest, Sergeant Major, you got people who be their friend. Like I seen, I think it was, I can't remember who it was on Freestyle Friday, but somebody talked about likership versus leadership. Nowadays, everybody want to be liked.
Hey, so I would tell you that now there is only one time, and I'm always consistent with this, that I would never tell the why or the what. And you know, there's some names I've seen on here that have been with me when I was their first sergeant. I would never give them the why or the what when I took them on a Friday company run, and we would just be running and just be out there. Now that's the only time, because I just want you to run, because I didn't want you to give up. But you have to get that purpose, and you have to be engaged. And you're right. The more people see you as a leader, as a person, you know, they're gonna figure out who you are. You know, I think that goes back to the consistency. To me, is one thing that helps you be a leader. Because if I'm consistent and you see me every day, you see what I do, you understand the why. You don't have to question the why, because you see me on a daily basis. So I'm not a roller coaster of emotions. I'm just a consistent basis, and you start understanding the why. So I believe that adds to that, and the more you are around those that you serve as a leader to, then they'll never question it. But on occasion.
You want to explain this one right here?
Which one, the Terminator?
Yeah.
Hey, so I went from Fort Campbell to
give you opportunity to rebuttal, because you said you was a Terminator.
No, see, look, when I left Fort Campbell and I went to Okinawa, you know, my mindset was on Fort Campbell. If you've ever been to Fort Campbell, you know the Fort Campbell mindset.
I've never been to Fort Campbell.
So I got there, and I was just going in hard, just like PT that we did at Fort Campbell, we was doing in Okinawa. And I told them so, because they was barely doing PT when I got there. I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work for me. I said, y'all got me confused. I said, we about to get it in. And we was out there getting it in. We was out there crushing it. Look, I had them jokers out there. We had running parachutes. So we were doing everything that we were supposed to be doing. And secretly behind my back, they was calling me the Terminator. So I never knew they was calling me the Terminator. And then I found out that
Harris. It's one of yours right now, right?
She's one of my S3 NCOs. So it was a few years later when they finally told me, like, you know what, we used to call you the Terminator back then, because, you know, I make them jokers run for about 45 minutes, and then we go hit the pool and swim for about an hour. Wow. So, you know, we was getting in some good PT over there.
Okay. That's good, man. So I'm enjoying this. So let's move on to the next one. So anybody that knows Sergeant Major, so he comes, when you invite him to the class, man, he comes with some fire. And I want to give him the opportunity to share some of the things that he come and talk to our students about. Go ahead. Right. And this is I'm looking at this is why my person that's supposed to be in charge of my page need to go back and look at the thoughts.
I was kind of thrown off by the throws. You know,
let it go, Sergeant Major. Don't do it. No matter of fact, since I can manipulate the page, I'm gonna take it down. Go ahead and speak. See, I can't never get a freebie with you, man. Like,
look, you know, if you'd had somebody check on your spelling beforehand, you know, I was going. You know, I ain't gonna go there.
Don't be like that.
I ain't gonna do that. So one thing I hope that because if I miss, I know I'm gonna miss a topic, because there's one person in the academy that every time I go to her classroom, that 9-2 Alpha SLC, I got to talk about one thing. But so if she's on here tonight, she can tell me, and I'll hit that topic before we close out. But the one thing, you know, people always ask me, you know, what do I keep everywhere I go? So I've been stationed multiple places all over the world, deployments, and for me, the one thing that I always want to do is, I knew Sergeant Jones was going to hit me with that one.
Got to do it, I guess. Long as you last.
I know what's last.
Okay.
Look, I just this remind me in case I forget.
Okay.
But every duty station, I always want to make a difference in one person's lives. To me, it wasn't about the whole group. It wasn't about the whole mass, but it's about one person. Because if you're out there chasing the 99 and you forget about that one, then it's going to be about your ego and then not about really helping somebody. So it was always about one person to me. If I could find one person that I could make a difference in their life, no matter what duty station, what location, how bad the location may or may not have been, it was all about one person. Because I never wanted it to be about Michael Warren. Because one, I knew if I did, I would never go nowhere, and I knew if I did, I'd be going against everything that my parents and my grandmothers taught me coming up. So it was all about that one person. So you can chase what you want to chase, you can be who you want to be, but for me, it was just one person, not the 99. And some people will get that reference, but I also contribute that to my faith as well. So that's the one thing I've always kept with me. I think I got to kind of tailor some of the things I talk about when I come to the classroom, because I'll be putting some crazy words up on the board.
True.
So one thing I talk about is gas pumps, and how gas pumps always reset every time a new user comes up on it. So if the gas pump is smart enough to have a reset automatically built in, why don't we have resets built into our lives? What we do is hard. What we do is difficult. But what resets do you put into your life on a daily basis, a weekly basis, yearly basis? So like for me, anywhere I've ever served at, I think most people know when that door closes at lunchtime, I'm probably going to catch me a nap, because that was like a midday reset. Or I wouldn't. There's a lot of times I would not stay in the office to have lunch. I would go somewhere to have lunch. I can't do it right now unless I come to the house. But just so I'm out and about, and it's a reset. When I come home at the end of the day, if you catch me on that on the phone the first hour, you're lucky, because you better catch me before I back up into the house and get inside the house, because I won't answer the phone for maybe the first 45 minutes to an hour, because that's a reset, because I come in, the first thing I do now is, I talk to my son, check up on him, we have a conversation, and then you just kind of get away. But you had to build them resets in life. You got to be smart, just like the gas pump is. We designed the gas pump to put a reset in, but we don't put a reset in our own life. That's why people don't take leave, don't take passes. They don't do all that stuff. But you got to find a way to reset during the day. Like for me now, I go to PT. I come home and I have a little bit more flex time in it because of when we do PT. So now my reset in the morning, first day, man, I come in, I cook a big breakfast every day. And so, that's like how I start my day now. But you have to put some resets in life, because if you don't, you will wear yourself out. When you care about what you do, and you take on the people and the problems of your organizations, it can be a burden sometimes, because there's a burden that's associated with being a leader. So you had to build them resets into your life. So just think about that as you go through your day to day. Be like that gas pump. Every time you get a chance, reset it.
Okay. Got another one?
Man, I seen so many.
Somebody said you got to talk about weed. Okay, so do weeds versus flowers and the boiling point of water, and then do the other one last.
All right, so I talk about weeds versus flowers and what takes the most work. And 9 times out of 10, everybody says weeds. But weeds don't take work. because weeds can grow in the eighth of an inch crack, and it can spring up out of nowhere. But in order for a flower to grow, you got to put your hands in the dirt. You got to clean that dirt out. You got to take that trash out. Then you got to put some nutrients in that ground. You got to plant a seed or a bulb. Then you got to water. You got to keep repeating and keep taking care of that ground until that flower blooms and blossoms. Mm-hmm. And then once it blossoms, the greatest thing about every living organism is it has the ability to reproduce. Mm-hmm. So if I get that one flower right, then that one flower should spring another flower, then another flower. So off of one flower, you can start a leadership legacy if you get it right.
Okay.
So it goes back to taste of one.
So before you go to boiling point of water, Miss Shalanda, I'm gonna make sure I say this right. It's either Shalanda or Shalanda. But don't inbox me later to talk about, no, I don't know. You didn't just jack my name.
That's Drill Sergeant Banks.
Okay, so let's go with Drill Sergeant Banks. So Drill Sergeant Banks asks, before we go to boiling point of water, Drill Sergeant Banks asks, what kind of leader are you?
Man, I want to do it, but I can't do it because I don't have the. I need like So most of y'all who've been in the classroom with me know the triangles. So that's what she wants me to do. She wants me to do the triangles.
Okay. Can you explain it?
Man, I don't have no pen on me. I don't have no paper. I can't put no graphics up. So normally what I would do is I would draw three different triangles on the board. One, a regular one with the arrow pointing from the top down. Mm-hmm. I would put one sideways like a yield sign with the arrow pointing to the point of the triangle. And then I would put an upside down triangle with the arrow pointing up. So I would ask people, based on those three triangles, before I tell you anything about them, pick which triangle you are as a leader. And I don't tell people what those triangles represent up front because I want them to, just kind of pick through their minds. So the first triangle with the arrow pointing down, that's the one that I say is the one who sits at the top and beats people down. Mm-hmm. The one that's inverted, like a yield sign, that's the one that can cause chaos and divide. And then the one that's inverted with the arrow pointing up, that's the one that I talk about that can push people forward, that's there to serve people. And I use that as a servant leadership model, that you're always at the bottom and you're pushing people to where they're supposed to be. Because if you can get people where they're supposed to be and where they need to be, they will pull you along and get you to where you need to be. So I would tell you, because like I see all these names floating around and people popping up from like my whole career. If it wasn't for the soldiers, NCOs, the officers, people who have allowed me to give them some advice along the way, people who have called me friend, allowed me to call them friend, I would not be here today. So I'm thankful for all of them because they the ones that pulled me and got me to where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. So I tell you what we got to do because they want you to draw it. So we will. I'm gonna give you a segment, maybe one day this week, but we're gonna come on for at least a good 3-5 minutes so you can show them the triangle diagram.
Look, the last time you told me 3-5 minutes, we was on there for like 10 minutes.
Whoa, now Sergeant Major. Whoa, now you can't come over here and I gotta make sure my guests know when they come on to my show, they can't come on it. It was supposed to be 2 to 3. What I say, 3 to 5 minutes?
Yeah, you like 2 to 3 minutes. But hey, look. So I'm gonna tell you one of my real good best friends, Toby Holland. He watched the video. He's like, man. He said, y'all two need to be on a radio show. It's like, man, look, this is. I was like, they're not ready for us to do the radio show.
Listen, so Sergeant Major, I will say, I know when this live button goes ding on some people's Facebook or their phones, they are looking. And it's like when they start chiming in, it's like it's addictive. I love all of y'all. I love all of my followers. This base that has been built, I love every last one of y'all. And they are addictive because they be asking you questions and speaking, and then you feel like you gotta speak to everybody. And so I'm
Look,
addicted.
look, I think you're doing a great thing here. Look, I was out circulating today, and a lot of my in-servers was like, "Sergeant, you ready?" I'm like, ready for what? I try to play it off, and that's like, nah, we know what you're doing tonight. We know we're gonna be on there looking. I was like, man, y'all ain't like we about to have a Super Bowl party tonight or something.
Sergeant Major, I'm telling you, and we're gonna get the ball in point of water. When I tell you NCOPD Live is like out there now, I can't tell you how many times I've walked around on Fort Lee and somebody has said something to me about NCOPD Live.
So Sergeant Hicks, I think you have a great platform that you have built. And I think you always make sure that your platform is secure, because a lot of people, when they try to get on a platform that's not secure and that platform falls in, they don't know how to handle it. So one, you make sure your platform is secure, and that you're standing on a strong foundation. So, keep doing great things and building your platform up, because you do make a difference across the Army and across the other services as well. Because I know there's some of our sister services out there watching tonight as well.
Oh, we got some stuff coming up where we got some of our brother and sister services that are coming on to the platform where you can hear from their perspective about in their branches of service as well. So I'm trying to keep that on the hush, but it's coming.
So I wasn't gonna put that out there because you and I had talked about that, but I want to
Yeah.
acknowledge that we do have sister services on here tonight. And, I think that speaks to what you're doing as a non-commissioned officer and using this platform to build everybody up.
Okay. Boiling point of water.
Hey, so they give it away because normally I would say, what is the significance behind the number of 212 or 212, however you want to read it. And most people, they throw everything out. Area code,
body's weight.
I used to tell them that it was the average PT score of the classroom. That never went over too well. But 212 is the point in life where change occurs, because that is the boiling point of water. There's no change at 211. It's only at 212. Mm-hmm. So as a leader, can you be that leader who implements and affects change in the organizations that you lead every day? Because if you do, you have to understand that as that kind of that change agent leader, that 212 leader, there's going to be times that you're going to be out there by yourself. There's going to be times that you're going to stand alone. And you have to understand that as that kind of leader, when you go to a different level, there's going to be different things and responsibilities and troubles that you're going to face. But if you're successful, you will be a very impactful kind of a leader. So your challenge is, can you be that leader of change? Okay. That 212 kind of leader.
I just want to take a pause real quick and shout out to this individual here. I don't want to jack nobody's name. I'm going to guess that's Quilla. And then there was another individual that, because it's significant, and it's not to overlook anybody else, but a significant impact was made on these individuals, because one person said if they don't take anything else from this NCOPD Live, reset. And then this individual here, this just made me reset myself and start new tomorrow. Do you want to address them too, Sergeant Major?
Hey, so I think that's important to find that reset. I didn't really dig too much into it, but I also talk about sometimes you got to reset the atmosphere around you. Acquaintances, people. You have to sometimes step back and just reset. Sometimes you got to turn stuff off to turn your mind on and just kind of relax your mind. So if that one word can have an impact and effect on people, I'm glad that you and I had talked about this ahead of time, and that was one thing that we wanted to bring out tonight.
Okay. So to Mr. Ryan here, I can tell you exactly how to do this. So when you go to the NCOPD live page, of course you got to like and follow the page, and then when you click on those three dots, it's going to tell you how to follow and get notifications. That's how you can get these notifications. If you need more information, hit me up on the NCOPD live Facebook page and message, and we'll make sure we get you squared away. Now.
So let me do one more before man, see, I guess somebody want me to do one thing, but
it's addictive.
So one thing I want to talk about before I get to your favorite one, well, there's two things I'm gonna hit, and before I get to your favorite one.
Okay.
Opportunities and balance. So, we talk a lot about finding that balance in life, but we never talk about and teach creating opportunities in life. How many times have we had wasted opportunities with our families, with our kids, with ourselves? We waste a lot of opportunities trying to that we don't think about. So when I'm in the classroom and I'm talking to leaders, one thing I always ask them is, when is the last time you went to eat lunch with your child at school? I got it. I know the crisis we're under right now, so not right now. But when it wasn't like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Military Appreciation Day, you just woke up one morning and you said, you know what, I'm gonna go surprise my kid at school today and have lunch with him. Mm-hmm. But we never did because it was a wasted opportunity. Or how many of y'all out there have a spouse and that your spouse's favorite candy and take it to them? This on a random basis. Mm-hmm. A wasted opportunity. There's a lot of spouses out here that have a lot of nice things because we as people, as servicemen and women, we don't never do anything for them until we get ready to go somewhere. Before we get ready to go to school, we'll take them out, we'll do something with them, be nice to them, make that opportunity. We get ready to go on deployment, we take them down, buy a brand new car. So, they're riding around in the 2023 that ain't even came out yet. So we waste a lot of opportunities that we need to start taking advantage of. So you have to figure out a way in your day-to-day schedule, and it's hard sometimes. It really is. But you have to find that opportunity, at least once a month to do something. My son's birthday is Monday, so I already told my commander, I'm not coming to work on Monday because I'm staying home with my son. He ACON right now with everybody else because there ain't no school going on. So we're gonna hang out for his birthday and we'll do something in the house. I'll probably sit around and beat his butt in Madden all day, but it is what it is. It's an opportunity. So take advantage of any opportunities that you can create with those around you. Even if you by yourself in the world, there's still an opportunity that you can take for yourself. And let's be real. There's a lot of people out there, the only time they balanced is twice a month. And that's the 1st and the 15th. And then by 12, they out of balance. So create some opportunities for yourself. And so if y'all don't know, if y'all don't understand, and Sarah Hicks could tell you and other people that's been with me, I love to use jokes. But I'm serious with my jokes, but that's something that works for me. Back when I first started this journey as a non-commissioned officer, man, I had a playbook that was so thick and their plays were not working. And then, I got my mindset like Coach Boone. I run 6 plays. Just like Novocaine, just give it time and it always works.
It'll work. Yeah.
So,
okay.
So right before I do yours, I'm gonna leave you with this thought. Well, I'm gonna leave you with some other thoughts in the closing remarks and comments.
Okay.
But this is the thought that I think there's some people out there right now that probably have this feeling going on inside of them. There are periods in life that seems like all your skills are being wasted. It feels like you're not being used to your highest potential. If you aren't careful, you can see yourself as a failure because you are not operating in the way you dreamed yourself operating.
Wow. Where'd you get that from? I know it's got to be a book because you're a reader.
Yeah, man, I love to read. I love to watch videos. So I stole this from one of, I forgot if it was a book or a video I was watching, but it was one of them by with T.D. Jakes. I at least listen to and read a lot of his stuff. I'm not him. I'm not John C. I'm not Simon. I'm not JC. I'm not none of them. Uh, I'm country all day, and it's just things that I've learned along the way.
Okay.
But I read that and I was like, man, you know what? There's a lot of times that we all feel like that we all go through something that we feel like we're not being used to our fullest potential. And then when you do that, then you allow yourself to become. You can always like, man, I'm failing. I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing. But there's always a purpose behind it, and you got to stay in that purpose. Because sometimes, we got to humble ourselves to be able to do those things.
Okay.
And we all been there. So, it's just a matter of what you look like inside of that, not what you look like outside of it.
I think somebody would like you to read it again, if you don't mind.
There are periods in life that seems like all your skills are being wasted. It will feel like you're not being used to your highest potential. If you aren't careful, you can see yourself as a failure because you are not operating in the way you dreamed yourself operating.
Mm. Wow.
Look, I got to stop. Put a pause, cause I just seen Frazier. That's my hometown boy.
Oh,
look at man. Look, my dad trying to make me cry at the end of the show.
Oh, that's that. Wow. Mr. Warren, hats off to you. You have an awesome son. I'm not just saying this because he's on the platform, but sir, he is truly down to earth, and he's somebody that I know and a lot of people on here have grown great respect for. So hats off to you, sir, for raising a well mannered young man. Now with these Cowboys, I don't know, sir.
Hey, so look, Sergeant Hicks, was you at the ceremony that when I got appointed? I don't know if you was there or you was on leave. But my daddy,
I think I was on leave.
I think you were. No, you wasn't, because we had it down and in the same night.
So I was the vice president of the night.
So you had to be at the ceremony. So my daddy tried to clown me in my own ceremony. But then they got somehow, I'm not gonna call nobody out because I know that person is watching, but somehow they got in contact with my dad and they got all these photos from my life and put together like I was retired.
Yeah.
I was like, man, y'all trying to get me up in here.
Hey. Now, hey, so you talked about Sergeant First Class retired Frazier. I ain't gonna put it's coming.
Look, that's so me and him, we come from the same area together, so I know I've been knowing Frazier for a minute. We had the same people, so I like to see people where I come from doing great in life.
So before you talk about weight, Frazier coming on the show.
Man, hey, look.
Hey. I don't even want to talk about the topic discussion that we're gonna talk about. Frazier is coming on the show, and listen,
Frazier gonna talk about golf.
He might talk about a little golf. He might, I know that's one of his hobbies, but
so look,
talk about some good professional dialogue though.
And I know he gonna talk about that down home barbecue that me and him used to get after down there.
Okay. Tell us about weight, Sergeant Major. Why do you want me to wait? What's up with weight?
So WAIT is an acronym, and it simply means, why am I talking?
Yes.
Do you have something relevant to say? Are you talking because you like to hear the sound of your voice? Or are you trying to talk because you want to make a difference? As a leader, as a person, you always got to understand why you are talking. because the more you talk, the more people, and it's not making sense to people, and it's just because you want to hear yourself, then people's going to tune you out. Think about how many of your kids don't listen right now because you got to understand, why are you talking? So, you know, for me, as Son Hicks, you know this, and some others, when we get on topics like we're talking tonight, I love to talk these topics with everybody. But normally, you don't hear me say too many words. Because one thing my daddy always told me, he said, walk tall and carry a big stick. And he said, you ain't got to say a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't really talk a lot unless we're on a subject that I'm passionate about. But just to be talking, you got to understand why you're talking as a person, as a leader.
Okay.
So I know you've been waiting on that one, like for.
I have. So you know, who is this Smith? Is that Drill Sergeant Smith, Sergeant First Class Smith?
Sergeant First Class Smith. So she was one of my NCOs when I was in Japan. That's the one that called me the Terminator earlier.
Sergeant Smith. This is so. I'm gonna talk about three people real quick, and then we're gonna go into closing remarks. Since I've been in Virginia, there's been three people for sure that has made an impact that I will never forget. Now, I've come across people that I'll never forget after I leave Virginia area. But Sergeant Major Bell, the G4 Sergeant Major.
Y'all know he was my drill sergeant in AIT.
Really?
He was my senior drill.
Listen, Sergeant Major Bell came to and I hope he's watching, because
I hope he does.
I'm like Sergeant Major Bell right now. And if anybody knows Sergeant Major Bell on Facebook, share this video with him. Sergeant Major Bell came to the academy, and he said something, Sergeant Major, I will never forget. He said, if a unit lacks discipline and standards, look no further than the non-commissioned officer.
You're exactly right.
When he said that, I could have got up in that auditorium and just shouted. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, look, you was ready to take up offering.
I was ready to take the offering up. We was done. That was the sermon right there. He said, if a unit lacks discipline and standards, look no further than the non-commissioned officer. That was Sergeant Major Bell, the G4 Sergeant Major. Then when I heard you give this one, you gave the acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? And I was like, you know what? Because some people just talk to hear themselves talk. They have no relevance to put it out, or they go based off of what somebody else said or what they heard. There's good. Some people, I believe that they would never tell me anything wrong. But for me to say I saw it myself, it means a lot to me. And then the day that I was driving Sergeant Major Smalls to Fort Eustis, he said, I don't know if he said the instructors or senior SGLs know the level of impact do we have on these students. Because the person that impacted him the most, it was his BNOC. It was his PLDC. I think it was his PLDC SGL.
It was his ANOC instructor.
Was it his ANOC?
It was his ANOC. He and I had that conversation so many times. And we would sit there and we were like, man, these guys do not know the impact that they have on these soldiers, on the Army. Because you think three branches, Quartermaster, Ordnance, Trends, and in the 25 months I was there was 10,000 NCOs that come through there. Think about the impact that made, because we touched every formation in the Army. There is very few people that can say they touched every formation in the Army. But that's the one thing he and I always talked about. You know, man, these guys just don't understand the level of impact, and we had multiple conversations on that. Yeah.
I listen, Sergeant Major. This has been one of the best NCOPD lives. So what you got for us? What closing remarks?
So I had to write this stuff down because this last one, because I want to make sure that I ended on I got three. So what we're going through right now, it's tough. And some folks really don't know how to deal with it because it's something that we never had to deal with before. As bad as it is across our nation, and world, you got to take advantage of this time to reconnect with yourself and your families. You know, we're not used to being at home all day with our families, with our kids. But it's something new for a lot of us. You know, I talked to my MRT guy last week, and so we're coming out with a video that should have dropped today, that we're going to start doing some MRT videos for people who are at home, because we want people to know, hey, you know, this is tough right now. We're not used to sitting at home. We're not used to our kids not being in school. You know, it's my son. He got so bored that he started doing research on his own and telling me about it when I get home. So this is new. So take time to reconnect with yourself and with your family, because you know there are some folks that are still out here on the grind every day. So I'm gonna shout out my drill sergeant instructors one more time for staying strong during this time and being on the grind every day with me. So I appreciate it. And understand that nothing you have gone through is ever wasted in life. It's all about, you know, what your intended purpose will be. So whatever you've been through, you know, take it, turn it into a positive, and understand that it was meant for a purpose, and it's a purpose to prepare you for it. And if I could ever do anything to help anybody, you know, look me up on the global. I'm on there. Sergeant Hicks knows how to contact me. But I'm always available to do anything I can for anybody else. I'm gonna lead the Army one day, and I need to make sure that y'all good to go, and that y'all got a handle on everything, so we can get on up out some of y'all's way.
Okay. Well, Sergeant Major, so let me just say this to you. I really appreciate you being on the show, even though it took you a year and a half.
But sir, you know, in real life, you know, when we celebrate stuff, 16th birthday, 21st birthday, 40th birthday, 50th, 75, and 100.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I told you this is my 16th birthday in life. So, you know, that's not the reason, but you know, there was a reason, and it was a different reason, but it was a higher power and operating in his time and not my time.
Well, so I would say this. I appreciate you sharing your 16th year birthday or anniversary, whatever you want to call it, being on the show. Because, like I say, I know you could have been doing other things. You could have been doing being with your son. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on to the show tonight. And as you see, I think we had some positive dialogue, and some individuals came back with some nice comments as well. And at your own leisure, if you would like, I think somebody asked for you to post that comment to the feed so they can have it. Whenever you like to come back and post on here, feel free to do so. But I really do appreciate you coming on to the show tonight.
Sergeant Hicks, it has been an honor and a privilege to be with you and everyone out there. I think this meant more to me than anybody, because it took me. If anybody knows me, you know, I don't get comfortable, you know, in front of a lot of people, and that sounds crazy. But I do appreciate you allowing me to come on here, and you know, we're gonna talk later on, and we're gonna AAR this thing like we do all good training events.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we'll talk tomorrow, because I know you got something else to do tonight. So we'll AAR tomorrow, and I'll get your comments.
Listen, I got 2 minutes. Sergeant Jones said, "Don't forget baseball."
Okay, so when we do this one, I'm dropping the mic.
Okay.
So in baseball, there's a single simplest play that there is to execute, and it's called.
Oh yeah, you got to do this, yeah.
And it's called the bunt. The object of the bunt is to move the runner from second base to third base, and from third base to home. It's all about the advancement of others. But for the person executing, it's called a sacrifice. So what would the bunt look like in your life for other people?
There you have it. There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting edition of NCOPD Live, hosted by yours truly, Staff Sergeant Hicks, #the professional SGL, and our special guest, Command Sergeant Major Michael S. Warren, the Battalion Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major for the 262nd Quartermaster Battalion, Lifeline to Victory. They're watching.
We are the victory.
If you see something wrong and you fail to do something about it, you have just created a new standard. And at the end of the day, their issue is never with you, but their issue is with the standard. Oh, so I almost forgot. So I gotta state this. So I got a letter, I got an email from Branch. The professional SGL is on assignment. The professional SGL next duty assignment will be Beaumont, Texas. So Beaumont, Texas, 3rd of the 289th Infantry Regiment. Be on the lookout. I am en route. I'm not going to say the date because that's G14 classified. But hey, y'all have a good night. This is Staff Sergeant Hickson, Command Sergeant Major Warren signing